Good morning. This is Dr. Vipul Shah. I am speaking on behalf of the R.P. Shah Memorial Trust. Since last 1 year, uh, since the time the pandemic started, we are a dedicated group of 10,000 plus healthcare workers spread across 30 plus countries. So today I would be discussing with everybody what tests to be done post the vaccination. A lot of people have trouble understanding those tests. That includes a lot of healthcare workers, because there are too many tests available in the market, and that miscommunication causes a lot of heartburns, and a lot of people since they do not understand what has happened, they think that the vaccine has not worked. So for that to for us to understand what tests to be done and how to interpret those tests after vaccination, let me start with the structure of the virus, because that's where the tests are based on. So this is the virus. It has small spikes on its outer surface. So these spikes are what is called the spike antibodies. The body makes an antibody called the spike antibody, and a part of this spike antibody is the receptor binding domain. That's a part of the spike. So using this spike, the virus latches onto the body cells, on your body cells, and then enters into the body cells. Now inside the virus, there is these are small stick like structures. These are called as the nucleocapsid proteins, and on those proteins, you look at the snake like structure. This is the RNA. So the nucleocapsid protein and the RNA of the virus, the RNA is the part of the virus which it is using to replicate itself, to make more copies of itself. Now coming to back to this picture, it's so easy to understand that the nucleocapsid and the RNA of the virus is inside the virus. The virus makes all efforts that these are not exposed. The only two ways that these can be exposed or found is either post infection. So when an infection happens, your body fights against that infection, and during that process of fighting, the body kills the virus. The viral protein breaks, and this nucleocapsid protein that spills into the body, and then the body makes antibodies against it. The other way this nucleocapsid protein can be found in the body is when you have a killed virus vaccine. During making of a killed virus vaccine, the virus is treated with chemicals. The virus membrane breaks, and those nucleocapsids are found. Now if you put these nucleocapsid proteins, if these killed virus vaccines are injected into the body makes antibodies against the nucleocapsid protein as well. So there are only two ways that you can find these nucleocapsid antibodies. These are either it's an infection, or two, if there is a killed virus vaccine that is used. In India, the killed virus vaccine available is Covaxin. There are a couple of Chinese killed virus vaccines as well. So the problem is these nucleocapsid antigens, or the tests which use these nucleocapsid antigens, are the most common tests that are used in the market. They are easily available, they are cheaper. These are basically used to detect an infection. But when you go and order a test for antibodies, usually this anti-nucleocapsid antibody is the most common antibody that antibody test will be the most common antibody test that you will be measured against. The only other two antibody tests that are available in the market are the anti-spike and the anti-RBD antibody tests. These are comparatively expensive and not usually available. So the chances that you may miss and misunderstand your antibody test after a vaccine is pretty high. So coming back to anti-spike antibody, so these are spikes. Most vaccines currently available, that includes the AstraZeneca, which is available as the Covishield in India, the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, or the Sputnik vaccine. These are all vaccines against the spike protein. Now the spike protein is on the surface of the virus. So if until unless you do not order an anti-spike antibody and if you've taken any of these tests, the test for anti-nucleocapsid that is usually available will turn out to be negative, and you will feel that you in spite of the vaccine that you've taken, the test is negative, and you may get frustrated. Not so. So if you have had no infection and if you've had a vaccine, then the preferred test to find out whether your body is forming those antibodies is to order an anti-spike antibody. The other test, now the problem is the anti-spike antibody measures whether you've got the vaccine or not, and these are the 4 classes of vaccines. But then it does not measure whether the antibody is able to bind the virus or not. So there is a part of the spike protein which is called as the receptor binding domain, RBD. The receptor binding domain is the part of the virus, spike protein, which against which if antibody is formed, then it can block the entry of the virus into the human body. So these are called as anti-RBD antibodies or neutralizing antibodies. So if you order an anti-RBD or a neutralizing antibody, you have a better chance to understand how much your body is capable of fighting those infections. Having said that, we have to understand that fighting the infection is the antibody is just one part of fighting the infection, and there are other mechanisms by which the body fights the infection, and that includes the T cells. The T cells have long-term memory, in fact long enough to last years in some cases. For example, the SARS and the MERS pandemics, during those pandemics the antibodies reduced after 5-6 years. There were studies done, but the T cell which keeps remembering what virus it has been exposed to, the T cell has been found to be active even up till 17 years. Now coming back to the question whether whether the antibodies are found or not and how much are they found, we have to understand that most of these vaccines, whether it is AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, Sputnik, or it's the Covaxin, all of these vaccines produce antibodies in close to 95%. Why do I say 95%? So in a study of 515 healthcare workers, doctors and staff in 13 states in India, that was done, and it found that 95% healthcare workers produced antibodies after 2 doses. Now that's a huge number, and that should not that should give you a lot of confidence on vaccines. The only reason that you may find a negative antibody test is because either you've not ordered the right test, or the other reason could be that you fall in that very small minuscule 5%. If you fall in the minuscule 5%, and scientists have tried analyzing who could be the people who fall in that minuscule 5%, they are usually diabetics, they are usually older people, they are usually people with chronic diseases like cardiac issues, over 60, and those with renal diseases. This is a common situation found in all these diseases. So next time, if heaven forbid you find a test which is negative after the vaccine, think twice before labeling the vaccine as a sham. Vaccines work, they protect lives. Thank you.